What is up, geeks and geekettes? It's another edition of the Countdowns to the Geekcast. My name is Ted, aka Steady, and joining me on this live stream is the one and only Retro Ray
What's going on, guys? It's always great to be back.
and the man himself from General Kenobi's bunker. Make some noise for Jose. What's going on, man?
Hello there. How's everybody doing tonight? Good to see you. Good to be back. Missed you guys. Let's do this.
We have a crazy show for everybody. So much has happened today, and we already had a show sort of planned out on what we're going to talk about. But lo and behold, the gaming gods decided to drop arguably one of the most anticipated trailers of all time. We'll get to that in just a few seconds. If you're in the chat, say what's up, and while you're there, give a shout out to our official sponsor of the Countdown City Geeks, the one and only Real Retro. We have so much to talk about, and real quick, shout out to Real Retro, who not only is a sponsor of this stream, but they're also going to be an official Ghostbusters toy drive drop off location
Nice.
for the 2023 nationwide Ghostbusters toy drive. We will actually be out sometime this weekend at Real Retro. So bring your unwrapped toys or your new clothing items or whatever you can think of to drop off over at Real Retro, which is off of which is at the Eisenhower Flea Market. Ray, what's the official address?
Don't know off the top of my head.
Oh, come on. Eisenhower Flea Market on Eisenhower Road, just like 3 blocks west of Highway 35. And we'll give all the details on our Facebook page as well as the Ghostbusters of San Antonio Facebook page. Oh, man, so many things to talk about. While I'm getting other things queued up, Kenobi, you, sir, finally caught one of the coolest DC movies in quite some
Yeah.
time, Blue Beetle, featuring Xolo Maridueña, who played Jaime Reyes in Blue Beetle. You finally saw it. You can
Finally.
spoil it if you want to, but just tell people what you thought about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, very late to the game, as you know, as Ted is mentioning. I finally caught up with it, and it's one of those that I kind of wish I would have seen in theaters. I feel that watching that with a crowd would have been that much better. And of course, don't get me wrong, the movie is very good looking. The effects are very very good, well done. So that would have been great to see in the big screen. But I kind of loved it. Okay, I kind of really liked it more than I thought. So I've never shied away from saying that I'm not the biggest DC fan when it comes to the movies. I'm always uh, I go in with high hopes, right? And
Mm.
I should know better. But for the last more than a couple of years, it's just hasn't panned out, right? With Blue Beetle, I was like, you know what, man, I'll catch it when I'll catch it. I'm not gonna make a point to go watch it. I've been burned one too many times. And of course, right, this is the one that I actually should have gone and gave my dollars to, like in the box office. Honestly, I feel that this is the one that deserved, an outing with the family and the whole thing, right? As I've done before with other movies for DC. But going back to it again, I finally caught up to it. I liked it. I liked the character. I like that they didn't just ignore, which I was afraid of. They didn't just ignore the what can we call it? The original, I guess, Blue Beetle, or at least the previous Blue
Ed
Beetle,
Cord,
right?
yeah, the original.
Yes, exactly. So I was like, how are they gonna play it now? I kind of feel that they try to pull sort of an Ant-Man, move on that one by giving us the newest iteration before they gave us the OG, even though the OG is in universe, right? So I'm curious to see how they're gonna play that out in the future. if they play it out in the future, right? Like I don't know what the status of the project is overall. Um, but like I said, I like that. Some good reference, not over, in your face about it being a shared universe. A few comments here and there, which I enjoyed. Like they didn't go too deep into it. When he picks up, I mean, spoilers, but this movie's like 6 months old, right? So when he picks up like the
Yeah, we're
utility
good. We're
belt,
good.
yeah, he's like, dude, this is like your dad was like sort of like a genius, but like this is like Batman stuff. But if Batman had ADHD, oh, dude, like I'll laugh so hard at that for some reason. Like that line just got to me.
The
Um,
the jokes hit, the
oh,
comedy
dude,
hit.
yeah,
Whether
it,
you're sort of familiar with sort of the Hispanic family
right,
dynamic, I
right,
know that's not something that many folks are used to, but when it's not
absolutely,
just talking about the family, I feel like the jokes hit really well. And then when they were dealing with the family sort of dynamic and the
yes,
relationships, spot on for like I
spot on, yeah,
feel like not the generic Mexican American family, but like
right,
they tapped into something
they
so
did.
authentic to me.
Yeah, and to your point, and again, sorry to maybe hot take, but the thing that took me out of that, like you said, out of sort of like the portrayal of what family means, and even some of the culture and stuff, was freaking George Lopez, man. Like some of his stuff was just, I was like, what are you doing here, bro? Like you're taking us back like 30 years, dude. Like calm down, like cool
But
it with some of this stuff.
there's
And
every Hispanic family has an uncle like that. You know
yeah,
that.
yeah, it's just like, and it's funny you mentioned that because I did not have a problem with his character, like at all. Because you're absolutely right. Like we all got that one uncle, right? But some of the like jokes, I was like, dude, like that's not even that Mexican, like that's more like a whatever you want to call it, like a Chicano thing, type of thing. Um, but aside from that, like you said, the I love the way they portrayed the culture as us being very resilient, being very family oriented, right? uh, the entire family literally just grabbing whatever gadgets and going to save the one kid, right? um, that whole thing was beautiful. The grandma, I mean, don't even get me started on the grandma. um,
Yeah.
that shit was dope.
Nana was a badass, yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. Especially I love that when they get surrounded by what I guess by the core, SWAT team or whatever. And
Yeah.
she's like, "Is it Los Sicarios? They get up to us!" Like I was like, "Oh my god, dude! Like that's, dude, that was so funny." Because she's like, "That's what we've been running for."
Oh,
I was like, "What the hell?" So just some of those little lines right there are like said so quick that if you're not like on it, you'll miss it. But
yeah.
like you said, they just hit if you catch him. Um, so it's good. Like I said, it was fun. Um, I'm kind of, I didn't, how can I say it? I wasn't all over the bad guy, I guess.
Mm,
Um, I'm kind of done with the first. It's always the first installment of a new superhero has a villain that has the same powers, just reversed, right?
I gotcha.
Um, Ant-Man, et cetera, et cetera. Like they're just kind of like, oh, he's like the mirror version, right, of my powers, just in a bad guy, right, or
Yeah.
slightly stronger and meaner and all that, right? So I wasn't all into it. I didn't really care for his character too much. The villain, like I said, it didn't really land as I think they meant it to. Um, and I know the stuff with his family and all that, but or his mom, I guess. But I was like, I don't know, like that kind of felt forced towards the end. Um, the action was good. I didn't bump into any of the special effects. Look good. The suit I think looked great. I think they did a really good job with the suit. Because I think the last Blue Beetle that I saw was from what is it, Young Justice, the
Uh,
animated one.
yeah.
I
They
think
did
that's
add Jaime in that one, yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's season 2 or 3, I forget. Anyway, I was
2.
all into that show, by the way, and then it just got derailed. But I did, I liked that how closely he looked to that. So I was very satisfied with that. Overall, again, I really enjoyed the movie. I would love for the project, to continue. I probably won't. I
Well,
don't think it made.
actually, they announced it. David from Star Wars Stuff Podcast found an article that George Lopez was at the Kiss concert,
Mm,
and a brief interaction between Gene
George and
Simmons.
Gene Simmons. Yeah.
Yeah, and he asked George, and George said yes, that there is a number two.
good.
Now, 100% if that's true or not,
Right, right.
but that's the rumor that was put out there.
Hopefully, like I said, I think it deserves another shot. Unfortunately, it was the one movie, right, the one project that it literally in the middle of the transition between James Gunn coming in, firing everybody, people being not happy with him at all, not knowing where the DC universe was going to go, and then they put out this movie, so people are like, does it even matter, right? Like, does it even have any sort of connective tissue? Should we even care? Is it gonna amount to anything, or is it they're just gonna hit the reset button again, right? So I think some of those questions have still not been answered. So I feel bad for the movie because again, I think they had something really good on their hands. It just came at a really bad time for the DC universe, I guess, if you want to still call it that. Um, so people were just like, what is this, right? Is this a James Gunn led movie? Is this just him, putting his name on it? uh what is this? So
Good news is, as Star Wars Stuff Podcast has already mentioned, James Gunn has only been very clear that Jaime Reyes will play a part in the DCU.
right.
I I I don't want to like be 100% confident that like that includes the family and that
Sure.
includes George Lopez and that includes the Ted Cord
Right.
lore and all that. It's not to say that the entire story arc that was built is going to be in the new DCU. However, I do feel that James saying Jaime Reyes will play a part in the future, I can at least agree with that, and I feel like it'll be good. It'll be great. So
Yeah,
But
I hope so.
Sholo's a great kid, and he's a rising star,
Right.
and he acted his ass off in that flick, and the emotion, the drama, they had no business putting that much emotion in
I
it,
agree.
and it worked completely. Some parts are really hard to watch, man, but
Yeah.
I dug it. It sounds like you dug it. The first guys on our team were Ray and David to go watch it. They
Nice.
saw it like weeks before it came out. So
well,
shout
if
out to Dave. I know they loved it.
well, you mentioned James Gunn, so
Yeah.
you think about it. When we watched Guardian of the Galaxy the first time,
Yep.
did you actually think when we watched the first movie that James Gunn had this story already focused? It was going to be basically Rocket's story. When we watched it, I didn't even think, like, to me, Rocket was a character in the movie, but I didn't picture that it was going to focus around him
Right.
towards the very last movie. So
Yeah.
James is great at putting stories together and tying stuff together in the way he puts it together in packages where he gives a little bit of here, a little bit of there. So I really, and I know we're getting a lot of, people saying, oh, James Gunn this, whatever. You got to understand, James Gunn is here to try to fix what was broken.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, watch your mouth.
Well, I'm just
Watch
saying.
your dirty mouth.
Well, not everything. The stuff has been there. Michael Keaton. We all love Michael Keaton. We love Christopher Reeves. Those are basically the characters that I grew up looking at.
Right.
I know Ted, and I know you probably watch Superman, but not like I literally, since I'm the old man here in the group. Um,
We're not far behind. Go on.
yeah, but like I said, Christopher Reeve was our Superman,
Yep.
and right now, everybody liked the current Superman. So now with the whole recasting, the girl they got to play Lois, she's a great actress. I'm looking forward to see what she brings to the
Right. Right.
movie. This new guy that's going to play Superman, I don't know much about him, so I'm kind of
Same. Yeah.
curious.
Yeah.
The kid they got to play Jimmy Olsen,
Mm-hmm.
he's a great actor. I'm
Yep.
definitely interested in that. So there's a lot of stuff that they're going to bring, and I really have faith in James that he's going to give us a good story to go with the movie.
No,
Like
and I
we're
agree. I think, I think we're in for a treat. It's just like I said, I think just the timing of this
yeah,
was was that transition phase, right? When they're like, okay, well, James Gunn didn't really work too much on this movie, right?
yeah,
But it's the first one coming out
Right.
under his banner type of thing. So it was kind of like, okay, well, how much did he actually, have a say in? But like I said, I'm glad I the character deserves to be, further explored. Um, in this particular iteration, right? Like I want to see Solo back and the family if possible, right? But we know that the character Jaime will be back. It's just I'm just kind of hoping they sort of preserve it, right?
yeah.
Because I
I
think
agree.
this iteration in particular is great. Like I have no complaints about him.
Yeah,
Speaking of Superman Legacy, I'm glad we kind of brought that up a little bit. There was some news that we didn't get a chance to get into. Um, well, yeah. So they confirmed like the entire like cast for Superman Legacy, and so I decided, well, now let me put them all together and let's figure out exactly because I was losing track.
Yeah,
This
I
is
hear you.
everybody confirmed,
Yeah,
which this is now turning into like an Avengers type movie when it used to just be like a Superman movie. We're gonna tell this small story, and it's gonna be a great, kind of refreshing tale. Now it's like you have an entire Justice League of America in
yep.
this deal. So David Corn Sweat is already cast as Clark Kent. We knew Rachel Brosnahan was Lois Lane. Nicholas Holt as Lex Luthor. If you would have asked me if I was running DC, he would have played my Terry McGinnis in Batman Beyond like six,
So
7, 8 years ago. He looks just like Terry in
yep.
live action form. But him playing Luthor, I feel he's got the chops. He could probably definitely pull it off. Skylar Gizondo is Jimmy Olsen. Nathan Fillion, who James Gunn cannot work without these days, is
Yeah.
going to be Guy Gardner. That feels like the perfect match right there. Isabella Merced is Hawk Girl. Isabella, who the only thing else I know her from is Dora the Explorer, I believe is who she played.
That's awesome.
So that's a big jump there.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's got range.
Uh, Eddie Gathigi, Mr. Terrific. Interesting they brought that character in. Anthony Kerrigan, who I feel like is in every comic book universe at this point,
Yeah.
is playing Metamorpho.
he's a
Loved
good
him
actor.
in the TV series Barry. He's fantastic. Sarah Sampao is Eve Teschmacher, and Maria Gabriela de Faria is playing the engineer. So here's some shots of these folks. Let me take this thing off here. It's not working. There it goes. Here's your cast. Here's your top three right there and their comic book counterparts. Yeah, I don't know what this movie is going to be.
Yeah.
It feels like it's taking on a brand new life, but James Gunn is the type of storyteller, not just director, the type of
Yeah,
storyteller who just knows how to craft a coherent movie that deals with several characters. I don't know many other people who are just as good as him. Probably the guys that did the Avengers movies, the brothers. What were their names? I forget right now. But
Russo brothers.
Russo brothers.
the Russo brothers, they also have that gift. It takes a very sort of ADHD type of mind to sort
Yep.
of juggle lots of characters and give them all the appropriate screen time and giving them all something valuable to do. So I am
Agreed.
interested. I wish the Snyderverse would have concluded on a good note,
Mm-hmm.
but people who make decisions at studios that aren't always good didn't ask me what I wanted. So
Yeah.
I want DC to thrive in any capacity, and if there's any glimmer of hope that I can get conclusion to like the dark side story, then show it to us. Comic book form, animated form, I don't care.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Um,
say at this
but
point I'll take anything.
yeah, at this point, I will take absolutely anything. Legacy Nerds in the chat saying, "Yo, what's going on,
Yo, what's
sir?"
going on,
What's
brother?
going on, sir?
Dave also says, "What's our stuff podcast? Got to work at all on Blue
Yeah.
Beetle." You're absolutely right. I think he did hand some notes over, but I'm not really sure those were taken too seriously, which is fine. Legacy is gonna make or break the gun verse.
Yep.
Man, I don't. Yeah, he's got such a tough job ahead of him, but we'll see what happens. Cool. Well, that was a DC Comics discussion that I didn't think we were going to get into in this show, but I love it because, yeah, we haven't talked DC too much recently. Aquaman and the Lost
Uh,
Kingdom is right around the corner. If you're watching this
Apparently, it's
right
still
now,
happening. So
it's still happening. If you're watching this right now, be sure to be following us because if there is at all is advanced screenings in the San Antonio or the Texas areas, we're going to be the ones to get you guys tickets to that. Um, if you haven't already grabbed your tickets for, I have so many thoughts in my head and I can't think fast enough to do this stuff. If you and your family want to go catch a free movie next weekend, we are giving out passes. Oh, here's the better one. We are giving out passes to the Illumination Studio film Migration.
nice.
Here it is. Boom. Illumination presents Migration. Uh, if you're in the San Antonio area, I do apologize. We have run out of tickets to the advanced screening, which is taking place on the 16th. However, if you are in the Austin, Texas area, you still have an opportunity to claim your passes. And all you have to do that is go on over to countdowncitygeeks.com. Register with your email and claim your passes, and they will be emailed to you. Keep them on your mobile device, and be sure to present those tickets at the theater. For those of you who already have passes, I can't stress this enough. Arrive early. Studios want sellouts. They always give us more tickets than there are seats. And so, if you would want to guarantee your spot in the theater on Saturday the 16th, be sure to arrive. I would say at least 2 hours around there is good. That's like a solid time to be there. Usually, 2 hours early is good enough. If you got nothing to do, show up a little earlier. And it's a family 4 pack to the movie. So if you're like, oh, I can't
Nice.
choose which kid I want to take, no, you get to choose 4 tickets to the Austin screening. So that's for you, all you Austin people. Remember who you got those tickets from, Countdown City Geeks. And like I mentioned, if Aquaman 2, if they have any advanced screenings in our area, we would love to get you guys down there to go see Aquaman. Let's take a little gauge around the room. What
since we just talked
is
about DC,
There you
and
go.
then
I like that.
next,
Well, I was gonna ask real quick, are you guys at all interested, or like, what's your level of interest on Aquaman 2? For those of you watching at home as well, we want to hear from you guys. I actually asked this question online like a week ago, and I think I got pretty much no's across the board that nobody was interested. How do you guys feel about Aquaman 2, Ray?
man, I'm really torn. Um, just because of the whole story and reshoots that I heard that they had to go back and do, and then the most recent trailer showing them, oh, he's a family man now, and it's not really gonna tie into the, like you said, game James Gunn verse. So I kind of want to watch it just to see, but I'm not going with my hopes very high. What about
Yeah,
you,
Kenobi?
Toby?
exactly. Um, so let me preface this whole thing by saying that I actually enjoyed the first one a lot more than I thought. I gotta be honest with
Yeah.
you. Like I actually kind of liked it. Okay. Uh, and so I was like, you know what? I'm in for a sequel. But dude, I mean, freaking 10 years later, whatever it is, like it just took too long, you know. And this movie, I feel bad for because you can tell it's an expensive movie. It's a movie that's been plagued by casting, problems, as we all know with Amber. Uh,
Oof. Yeah.
it's plagued, like Ray said. It's a movie out of time. It's a movie out of universe. It's a movie that we all know doesn't count, right? towards anything. So I feel bad for it. I think I'm sure everybody's trying to do their best in it, but it's just there. I haven't seen anything in the trailers or the press release or anything like that to make me feel like, oh, this is a must. I'm like, I'll watch it eventually, you know, uh, but I don't feel a cultural connection to it.
No.
The action
You're
look,
not Atlantean? What are you talking about? You're
yeah,
not part
exactly.
of
Are we
Atlantean?
all Atlantean? Um, I'm not, I'm not a muscular, Kiwi guy either. So it's just not, um, Tamora Morrison is in it, which is cool.
Yeah.
I'm all about him, but that's kind of about it. It looks. I gotta be honest with you. From what I've seen, it just kind of looks like a remake of the first one. A lot of those shots look very, very similar. We got Black Manta back. It seems like he's getting. Uh, I'm blanking out on his brother's name. Back, So I'm like, okay, so why is this an actual sequel? Like, what's actually changing? So, sorry, but yeah, no, this one is unfortunately too late. Too much has happened, both in the real world and like within universe, for this one to kind of matter. I mean, it's and again, it kind of sucks because you can tell it's expensive. Like you can tell this was an expensive movie, right? And like Ray said, just add that to the reshoots. I'm sure some BFX, were redone. Like all of that adds up just to the budget of the movie. So it's just not gonna make its money back, let alone make $1 billion or something like that. Like that's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's unfortunately the trend is not great, especially with
Yeah.
the Marvels being sort of the last superhero movie to come out.
Yeah.
Um I think not even breaking 100 mil domestically, which is crazy, might I add. I think the audience definitely wants new stories. And that doesn't mean it's not superhero or comic book,
Right.
because movies like I mean, it's not a superhero movie, but Super Mario Brothers, geeky, nerdy movie. Kids film made $1 billion. The Barbie movie, it's still like a major IP. It's not superhero, but still a major IP. These aren't like, dramas or whatever.
Yeah.
$1 billion. Like, it can be something familiar, but it's really got to be new. I think fans just want to see stuff that is new to them. And unfortunately, like you already mentioned, we're kind of getting the same characters in this next one. Kind of looks like we're rehashing the same things.
Yep.
So yeah, it's not really helping them out. Star Wars Stuff Podcast says wasn't hyped about Aquaman, but they announced Topo the Octopus was going to have a larger role than just playing the
Ooh,
drums.
there
Ah,
you
of
go.
course. Legacy of Nerd says maybe we'll be like Super Pets, where the Rock Crypto meets the Rock Shazam. Maybe
What,
Momoa Aquaman will meet Momoa Lobo.
bro?
uh,
Spoilers. What do you mean?
Boy, you know
Damn.
what? I'm probably more interested in the end credits. What are you going to show us in the end credits
Right? Yeah.
about this being the last, sort of DC EU film, and how does that transition work?
Yeah, it'd be kind of funny
Uh,
if like the anti-monitor just show up and he's like, "Nope, reset," and he just goes, and like destroys the universe.
that's it. Explain it away with the Anti Monitor. There you
Yeah, right.
go.
I mean, they've tried that
Star Wars
before,
Stuff
so
Podcast says we want the X-Men.
yeah, we do.
I agree with you, and we knew what happened at the end of the Marvels, so you would think more people would have turned out for that, and they didn't. I don't know. It's it's
Yep.
it's really mind-boggling. If Mara doesn't take a Dookie a clamshell bet, I'm out.
Exactly. I'm out. Yeah.
Woo.
There you go.
Wow.
That's for a refund.
Everyone spent all their money on Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Maybe a Rebel Moon end credit scene? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. I won't hope for that, but yeah, definitely that's like a possibility.
Yeah, I want to
Oh
watch that.
man, yeah, we just have to move on, and it's unfortunate that this was forced this way. I said this back when James was announced. I said you have to conclude the the line, the stories right now.
Yeah,
You have to conclude these things. If you just decide to reboot everything, it's not going to help the fan base, because the fan
agreed.
base was tired of rebooting everything. We rebooted and we rebooted, and it's like, just like rebooted, and
Yep.
it was too much change, and they just got sick and tired of it. What we needed was some stability, and instead, he's like, "We're gonna reboot everything, no
Let's
matter
go.
what."
Yeah, exactly.
And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
we're
agree. I
tired of
mean,
the instability.
if they would have done, I don't know, one more movie with Darkseid invading, them beating him back, and the Earth is so messed up, right? That they're like, you know what, we got no choice but to reset the timeline. Barry, go do your thing. We're done, right? Even though we won, quote unquote, we still kind of lost. So now our only option is to hit the reset button, right?
Yeah,
I'm good
and
with that. Just that's it. Blink and it's gone. So, but like you said, we doesn't seem, at least again, unless they're really really burying the lead on Aquaman 2, I don't think we're gonna get an actual conclusion to the Snyderverse, right? So
no, and I don't want to say it's unfortunate. It's more than that, and I think it's partially what's going wrong with Marvel.
yeah,
Hear me out. Hear me out on this. I am not a Marvel basher. I've honestly enjoyed the majority of the films that have come out, even the ones that people like crapped on. Thor: Love and Thunder. Everybody hated that movie,
yeah,
except me, because I got such Big Trouble Little China vibes from it that I'm like, no, no, no,
I
no.
see that.
This is like the '80s reincarnated, and I love this type of humor and this type of tone and all that. But with Marvel, in phase one, there was some connective tissue, and we
Yep.
were able to hold on to those ongoing threads, and every end credit scene led
Right.
to the next movie, and we're like, cool, we're also in on this surprise and this build up, and it was exciting. Phase four, most of phase five, it feels like everything is just separate, and we're starting to get little bits and pieces of this like connective tissue. This entire universe is somehow connected, but it's not enough, and it's almost too little too late. And you could have been, you know sort of building up towards the big bad threat, and
Yeah.
instead, and it's not all Kevin Feige's fault or the creators of this universe, because there's been so much legal troubles with Jonathan Majors, which is going on right now. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that once it's concluded. But the MCU should have been building towards something this entire time, because that's what we maybe anticipated. And it's not fan theories that we weren't being let down on. It was that connective tissue and building towards like a bigger threat,
Yeah.
and building towards like an event happening. And that's what we sort of always gravitated towards. We gravitated towards those events. The Avenger films, all of them, one, two, Infinity War, Endgame, those were events, and we built towards those things. And it was both exciting, and it was both like something that we all experienced at once. So that was also part of it. Like, we're just a big family enjoying Marvel movies, and we're building towards these big movie events, and it was fantastic. It was
Yep.
like, Star Wars movies, every single one of them are events, but Marvel, you had a Star Wars level movie event every 5-6 years.
Yep.
We don't get
So,
those. We don't get those now,
so I
and
got a question
I
for
wish I wish we would be. What's up, Ray?
so I got a question for both of you guys. So you're talking about that. What with the Deadpool, with everything being pushed back, and we're getting Deadpool for the only movie next year
Yeah,
for
which
Marvel.
I'm fine with, by the way.
Yeah.
So, with of course photos that we've seen leaked, do you think that Deadpool's gonna fix some of these problems by explaining as the big Fox sign that we saw saying Deadpool kills the Marvel universe kind of thing, and kind of fix some of the problems that happened? Do you think
I
that's possible?
I don't think in this one. I think it's kind of too
Yeah,
soon. This one was already pretty much made years ago, right?
The
Um,
Deadpool?
yeah, I mean Deadpool they shot a while back, so they
They're still
weren't.
filming right now.
Well,
I
they're
mean, these are
completing,
probably
but
reshoots. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But the majority of it, it was written. It was a done deal. I don't know, probably about 2 years ago they finished the script, and last year or so they wrapped up most of the photography. With this year because they were gonna release it earlier, like you said, right? So now it's just kind of reshoots and stuff. I would kind of like that idea, to be honest. It's like, what, wash it all away, right? Type of deal. But I don't think that so they're gonna use Deadpool 3 to bring more of the connective tissue again to the Fox properties, right? X-Men, of course, Deadpool being one of them. So that is gonna be the bridge. But is it gonna be like the reset type of event? I don't think so. Not yet, anyway. Um, I don't think so. Not like I said. I kind of feel it's too soon.
Well, I mean,
People,
with the strike going on, they mentioned that they were still writing parts of the script, and the strike kind of stopped it, of course, and that's what stopped the filming as well. But they had no writers to write to
Yeah.
continue writing for it. So technically, I thought it wasn't 100% finished.
it.
It,
I would say it's not 100%, but I think they're just doing what's left of the
yeah.
movie. But the story apparently was like sort of concrete and agreed upon maybe a year and a half ago. Um, People ask me, this is not exactly the same, but I feel like it's sort of similar. When Ahsoka was on and we were watching it every week and they started introducing like a new galaxy and all this stuff, the fan theories were going wild. The Star Wars universe is going to get flipped on its head, and oh, they're going to introduce like a new force or something like that. And I'm like, you know, that's a lot of responsibility for one show.
That's what I'm gonna say.
And so I'm like, I played the conservative thinker in that regard. Like, no, they're just gonna play some things safe, and they're not gonna try and change too much because, like I've already mentioned, fans hate instability. So I that's where I was with Ahsoka. I'm gonna say the same thing for Deadpool 3. That's too much responsibility to put on a Deadpool movie
Right.
to like completely alter the course of the entire universe.
Yeah.
I will be happily surprised and grateful to be wrong
Yeah.
if
Same
they
here.
decided to give Deadpool 3 that type of power,
Agreed.
not legitimate power like metaphorical power, to like alter the MCU as a whole or like kill off the Fox universe. I just think, and this is just me being putting myself in the mind frame of like this writing team. I think they're just going to make it as bonkers and wacky as possible without directly affecting or impacting anything. I feel like they're going to treat it like a Rick and Morty episode, where like it's Deadpool travels through time and screws shit up and murders things, and like we're going to be pulling characters from out of the woodwork, and we're going to see characters as far back as X-Men 1.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. And we're going to see villains and other characters we never thought we'd ever see in live action form. And they're going to do that because this isn't going to mean anything, if that makes any sense. This isn't going to affect and impact anything. And I feel like you're safe to play in the sandbox when you're making a project that doesn't have any ramifications, and you're free to do with you what you're free to do with it what you want. I mean, we had a solid end to Logan in the Logan movie. Like, perfect ending, close the chapter, close the book. I was going to say let him ride off to the sunset, but he didn't do that.
Yeah.
But still, perfect ending to a fantastic career as Wolverine. And yet we got him back. And so it's like, no, this is not going to have, you know, multiverse altering complications.
Yeah.
I'm
Like I said,
almost certain of that.
they're gonna have fun with it, and I'm all about that. But it would be cool. Oh yeah, there you go. So if they do decide to do it that way, I'm all about it, right? I'll happily take that. I think it's gonna be more of a bridge to get us to that big reset, right? Like, and yeah, I agree. They need to get the X Men going. Like that's just it's gotta happen. There you go. Yeah, if they can pull that off right there, that movie's gonna be awesome.
Carl Urban, he's
Um,
already in the MCU. He was
yeah,
in
he's
Thor 3, right? Ragnarok.
yeah, Ragnarok.
Yeah, see,
Uh,
but that's the thing when you're talking about the variants, because look at all the Loki variants we had. Look at, if we really want to go with the MCU and Fox, we've got Captain America who played Storm or Firestorm, um, in Fantastic Four.
Mm.
So the variants are possible, like what he mentioned there. Um, but for me, who read Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, I think in the way it is it basically he. Did any of you guys read that comic by chance?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So basically he's just going around killing off these characters one by one. And like you mentioned, with all the rumors that we've seen that are coming back, we're getting Electro, we're getting supposedly rumors, Daredevil, you know, coming, the original Daredevil.
Anybody,
So
yeah.
yeah, so these are rumors, mind you. We don't have 100%. I mean, there's been recent leaked photos, if you guys haven't seen it, where the original Sabretooth we see from the first X-Men movies in the shots with Deadpool and Wolverine. So right now we're getting more photos leaked recently of stuff like that. So it's going to be very interesting. I'm really, from being a big Deadpool fan as well, and Cullen Bunn has written all the Deadpool stuff. He's a great writer. I feel they're going to take a little bit from him and put into this movie, but I'm looking for it. Looking
oh,
forward to
don't
it.
get me wrong. Like I'm super excited. Like that's the one Marvel related project that I'm like this. Like you said, if that's the only one that comes out next year, I'm totally okay with that because I think it's gonna be the best one anyway. So as long as they give you Deadpool 3, I'm set. The only other one that I'm waiting for is oh yeah, I read about that one. um, is the animated Spider-Man Spider-Verse, right?
Yeah.
Continuation. That's one I'm definitely looking forward to. But again, sort of different, different, I guess, uh, universe, kinda, right? Even though they kind of intertwine on this last one. But yeah. So if they put all that weight on a Deadpool movie, they're doing good. Like I'm all about that. Please do so. To me, it makes sense. It's gonna be super fun anyway. But if they actually add like that level of ramification, there you go. By all means, like I hope they do it. I'm kind of on with Ted. Like I don't know that they will. They've been trying to play it too safe as of late. This is the one movie to go bonkers, right? So I really do hope that we do get that. But I agree, they have to get the X-Men in like now, right? I mean, they can't be just saving it for later. There's not going to be a later if they keep waiting so much.
Give us better
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll see, we'll see what happens. Star Wars Stuff Podcast says Killian Murphy or Mads Mikkelsen as Doctor Doom. I would
Sure.
love Murphy to play Doom. Please let him do whatever the hell he wants. He's
Yep.
fantastic. I've loved him since 28 Days Later,
Hmm.
and then he was also in Sunshine, which somebody brought it up the other day online, and people, I think the question was just like, "Hey, who here saw Sunshine in theaters?" And I was like, "I did, mother effers." Sunshine was this indie sci-fi film that turned into this sort of like a suspenseful thriller and came out of nowhere when that switch happened, and
Nice.
I loved it. And I saw it in theaters, and it had arguably one of the best ensembles of a cast ever. I mean, I don't want to go through the entire list right now, but like everybody from that movie was like just a absolute boss, like a future superstar, and Murphy was the lead at that time. Yeah, the Star Wars Stuff Podcast knows what's up. Sunshine rules. If you haven't seen it, go look for it online. Ooh, second favorite film of all time. That's high
Wow, that's high
praise.
praise. Got to
Yeah,
check it out now.
absolutely. Go check it out. And I'm not going to tell you what it's about because it's best if you go in it with no expectations whatsoever, because that's how I went in and it just blew my mind.
Nice.
Most of it's okay for kids. It gets little graphic towards the last act, but yeah, that's all I'll say about that. What else? We got a couple more topics to get to, but real quick, I want to make sure I bring up that our friends over at Superhero Comic Con, if you've been following us, you saw all the videos and the panels and the interviews that we had dropped from Superhero Comic Con last year. Well, they thought it went so good that they're going to have a second event next year, and that is called Space Con San Antonio. And yes, this looks like your wish list, but this is the official guest list so far for Space Con San Antonio, which drops October 25th through 27th of next year. So you got a little under a year to plan and make sure that you're in San Antonio, Texas around that weekend. Hayden Christensen, Michael Pena, the return of Katie Sackhoff and Ming Na Wen to the Alamo City. Ross
Yeah.
Marquand, friend of the show. We've done several interviews together. I got a story about him. I'll talk about it in a second. William Shatner, Jonathan Frakes, Gates McFadden, and many more. Lots of Star Trek guests and more Star Wars announcements coming very soon. Friend of the show, Todd Stashwick, who was a big fan favorite in the Picard final season. Yeah, so awesome. Great list so far. For more information, please head on over to www.spaceconsa.com. Let's see here. Kenobi, tell us how excited you are that Mr. Hayden Christensen, aka Anakin Skywalker, is coming to town.
Well,
Finally,
I'm super excited for, yeah, exactly. Finally, right? He kind of owe us from what is it, last year? I
not
get my years
entirely his
blurred.
fault, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get it. I
exactly.
get it.
But I'm sure a lot of people were definitely looking forward to that, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, very very cool that he's coming down to San Antonio. Uh, I think last I saw the tickets were already 50%, 60% sold on him. So do not sleep on it, guys. If you want to meet, the chosen one, definitely head over to SpaceCon and get your whether it be an autograph, photo op ticket. Make sure that you get them well in advance. Like I said, they've been kind of selling good, and we are what 10 months away from this. So again, don't sleep on it. He's obviously at peak right now, right? After Obi-Wan last year, after Ahsoka this year, we're gonna keep seeing him. It's no secret he's gonna be popping up in other projects for Star Wars. So he's only coming back, so make sure that you get your tickets. Don't hesitate, don't sleep on it, go for it. So
Absolutely. Ray, you were at the event last year. We have a lot of returning faces. Who are you most excited to see again, man?
For sure, Hayden as well. Katie was freaking cool. Malwin was
Yes,
cool as well. They both signed, of course. We got them to sign your badges since
yeah.
you hosted their panel. um, but yeah, it's gonna be an interesting show because I think this is the first convention where it's catered around Star Trek and Star Wars in the same building at the same time. So it's gonna be very, very interesting. It's gonna be fun. You're gonna
bonkers.
see people dressed in Starfleet outfits, and then you're gonna see stormtroopers. Dude, it's gonna be a freaking fun event, man.
I am so excited, and I feel like 10 months is not enough to plan all the epicness that's going to happen at this event. Yeah, absolutely love it. Even a guy like Michael Pena, who his movie A Million Miles Away was fantastic, but I love him from being Luis in the MCU. in the first
Yeah.
two Ant-Man films. I don't know why he wasn't in the third one. There was a big gaping hole in that movie that should have been with Luis in that film. And to this day, I am still a major activist of releasing the Infinity War Luis recap that nobody saw except for attendees at the 2018 San Diego Comic Con Hall H Marvel panel. That's the only folks that saw that was that group. It was like 5, 6,000 people, and that's just it's so unfair because it was so good. It was Michael Pena and Scott Lang, what's his name? Paul Rudd. And it was the two of them recapping all phases 1 through 3, 1, 2, and 3. And it was just like the funniest thing ever. And I've been on Twitter multiple times begging Kevin Feige, release it, damn it. We should let the world see the glory that was the Luis slash Scott Lang recap of Marvel's Phase 1 through 3.
Put
Please release
put
the
that in
entire
theaters.
recap.
That makes $1 billion right there. Not the Marvels. That.
It was so good, the entire thing, and it's just them two like riffing off each other for like 8 minutes. It was epic. It was
Dude, I'm
absolutely
serious.
epic.
I would pay $5 to see that in theaters. Like,
Who wouldn't?
yeah, I'm telling you,
Oh, I'm gonna keep bothering Kevin Feige until he releases it because I care
absolutely.
about you who watch this show and everybody else around the
Wait,
world. I care
well,
about
you
your
jumped
happiness.
ahead. What about the superhero car show?
I listen. We will talk about that very soon. But
Dude,
they have
Peter
announced,
Dweller, Dr. Peter Dweller.
yeah, RoboCop. Peter Weller is
Yeah.
is headed to Superhero Comic Con, as well as Sam Jones has also been announced for Superhero Comic Con, and they're giving out free autographs. There's not too many
Yes, that.
conventions in the country that are giving away free autographs, so it's what else can you say? These are conventions that are massive, that have A-list celebrities, but they're also affordable in many ways. Free autographs. You have refillable drinks and snack buckets, popcorn buckets. You can't really get refillable things at anywhere else, I don't think. And then you also have kids tickets that are free up to like the age of 12, 13. I forget what the exact number is, but I know it's like up to teenagers, and that rarely happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get a lot for your buck, and that's why we love this event. It's not only is it in our hometown, but we also love this event.
Hey, but what about also
Um,
too? Remember last year they had the UTSA football team there as well, and you got to meet the UTSA football players.
I tell this story to a few folks. The head quarterback for UTSA, his name, what's his name? Forget his
I forgot his name off the top of it, but yeah, he came to our booth.
forget his name. Which sucks because he's such a great guy. He came up to me and was like, "Hey, is Tony Parker around?" And I said, "He's gonna be here in a minute." And I said, "If you just want to hang out, he'll be by in like 5 minutes." And he kind of takes. He's like, "Oh, okay, sure, definitely." Then he takes off, and I see on social media he's like already talking to Tony Parker, taking photos of him. I'm like, yeah, that's what kind of pull that guy has. Frank Harris. That's what kind of pull that Frank Harris has in San Antonio. He can just go and go talk to Tony Parker whenever he feels like it. All right, cool. Let's see. So yeah, the event next October, Star Wars, Star Trek, also Cosmic MCU. Definitely a lot of stuff to check out. Awesome. Boo Marvel release opinion recap. Yes,
Yeah.
please do. Robo loves Oreos. I love that story, by the way. And yeah, Frank Harris, appreciate that, brother. Cool. Let's see here. Let's get to the final headline of the night. Our main topic is, of course, Godzilla Minus One. This movie was released in Japan. It's made its way over to the States. We all got a chance to check it out, and we're here now to talk about it. So, gentlemen, before we get to any spoiler ish territory, go ahead and give us your sort of brief overview, whether you liked it or not, of Godzilla Minus One. Godzilla Minus One, real quick, which only had a budget of $15 million, and I believe it's already surpassed that. And folks are talking about the graphics and the story and just how much they were able to um, do with just such a small budget compared to all American films. Quite, definitely. But Jose, let's start with you, man. Your general overview for Godzilla Minus One.
I absolutely loved it. For all the reasons that you mentioned, it's it's like a love letter to that first Godzilla. You know, it is. It has so many elements from the original intended story of Godzilla, and it doesn't shy away from going into depth, right? Of some of the it really puts you back into the era, right, that spawned Godzilla, both inside the universe, right? So we're talking about the monster, but also outside. I'm talking about the film, like the character that was Godzilla, a long time ago on those very first Japanese movies, post war Japan, right? And so I love it. I think pretty much anybody that has seen a Godzilla movie, I don't care if it's a Toho movie, if it's one of those legendary ones, I think we can all agree that you don't really care at all about the humans. Like it's just they're just there because they kind of have to be, right? Character wise, I don't know that I've connected, for the past whatever 20 years that I've been watching Godzilla movies, right? I don't think I've connected to any of them that much. This one will change that. Okay, this one is surprisingly very human, right? Very very human centric. Yeah, overall, again, if how do you call it, um if we're just giving it overall, I loved it. I fell in love with it. I had heard good things about it, and yes, when you factor in that, what a low budget movie this is, like surprisingly low budget movie, it's just, it's an astonishing feat that they've accomplished. That's the best way that I can put it.
Absolutely. And to the Star Wars Stuff podcast, yes, he does simple math in this movie. That's why it's called Godzilla Minus One.
Exactly.
Ray, your thoughts or your overview of Godzilla Minus One?
Yeah, if you're big into history and you're a Toho fan of the original, like like Jose said, you're gonna love this. The reason why you're gonna get a backstory, you get to see the post fallout after the war, how Japan had to rebuild. Without giving spoilers, you get more detail into that. It's kind of like a Pearl Harbor, but not what you know. Who's the one that did that? I forgot the director for that movie. I don't know how I
Michael
forgot his
Bay?
name. Michael Bay. Yes,
Was it
it's
Bay?
not that. Yeah, it was Michael Bay, but it's nowhere near that. You're gonna love these characters. Godzilla itself, the special effects for what they spent, which I'm pretty sure they spent more on Aquaman than
Yeah.
they did on this movie. Um, you're gonna love it. Now, mind you, I normally, for movies, when I watched the Power Rangers and Super Sentai back in the day, of course you had to read subtitles. I always used to hate that. But in this movie, even though it's a foreign film with subtitles, it's like you don't care about the subtitles. You're
No.
focused on,
Agreed.
yeah, you know what I mean? And you just focus on the everything that's happening throughout the movie, and especially history. If you didn't know what they went through after the war, that really makes you see things differently.
Oh yeah.
It's a great movie overall for me, in my opinion. And Matt Frank too. I'm gonna reach out to him. I want to try to get him on the show. I want to get his opinion because he's the Godzilla artist. Who he gets taken up to Japan for freaking. They fly him up there for conventions, and he gets to go see behind the scenes of stuff. So I want to get him on the show. But yeah, I want to get his opinion as well. But from what I've seen so far, he loves it all also as well. What about you, Ted?
Well, I was going to say that I do appreciate the OG and the old style Godzilla movies. But I'm trying to think what's the first like monster movie I really loved and appreciated. And maybe it's something like Jurassic Park is kind of considered like a monster movie, but not necessarily kaiju. Um, Godzilla 1998. I even found things to appreciate in that movie, and I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but I was a teen. I was like a child when that movie came out, so like I found things to love and appreciate about it. So Godzilla's been pretty big in my book, and just the kaiju monster movies in general, I really started to pick up on after that 98 film and started watching other things. I mean, Power Rangers is, I grew up on Power Rangers, which is kind of like a kaiju TV show. And then Ultraman. I was a major Ultraman fan, but it was like the US kind of version that I was watching. So kaiju have always played a little bit of a part of my life growing up. And so this one did things that I did not expect to do. Number one, you've talked a little bit about the special effects, flawless across this entire film. Honestly, it really did. Everything looked gorgeous and authentic. Everything moved the way it should. The way he swims in the water, the way he stomps on buildings, the way his tail blows through skyscrapers, like everything just looked spectacular. And I don't understand how you did that with such a tiny budget, and yet we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars over
Yep.
here in the US. And things look weird sometimes, man. I really don't get it. I really enjoyed it, honestly. I I know Jose said that he maybe wasn't like totally invested in the humans in this one, and I would actually beg to differ. I was like completely invested in like the humans in this one, and I really don't care all too much. Like all the other Godzilla movies that we're coming out with in the US, I don't know anybody in those anymore. Like any of the humans, like they just it's like a revolving door of like actors. I have no idea who's in the next one, human wise, because they just keep bringing people in and out. Um, yeah, Eisenberg was in one of those for like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
exactly.
remember that. Yeah.
That was a waste, by the
So
way. Like
Yeah.
that was a
he was
complete
doing took and then oh yeah, don't get me
oh
started.
It
my
made you get
god.
hyped to see him that he's
Oh
gonna be in
yeah.
the movie, and then next thing you know, first thing, boom.
Yeah,
What?
he's gone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, this one I enjoyed it immensely. We'll get to our Geekcast ratings at the end of this review, but now is a little bit of our spoiler territory. So if you haven't seen it, if you don't plan on watching it, if you don't mind a few things getting spoiled, you can stay here. If there's something you don't want to get spoiled, please pause this video right now. Go check out Godzilla Minus One in theaters
Yes.
and come back and let us know what you have to say. But you get 3 approvals right here,
Oh
and
yeah.
probably 4 with Star Wars Stuff podcast, I believe, who may have also seen it. So spoiler territory for anybody who's not really sure right now. Warning here. This is it. All right. He says pausing now. Good job, guy.
Yeah.
Whew. Yeah, I'm gonna start off with the story arc of the humans.
Yep.
I don't know any of the lead characters, so I apologize in advance. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to say a few of these lead characters. Um, no, I'm not. I was
I couldn't help you on that one.
I was gonna give it. Okay, I'll try it out. Ryunosuke Kamiki plays our lead, Shikishima, and
Shikishima. Yeah.
he is awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like when he's trying to portray himself emotionally, or he's got like an emotional moment or a scene, he does things a little too over the top, and I'm like, pull it back a little bit. That's a little too much. But
Well,
other than
that's also just the Japanese, right? Like
you're
sort
probably
like
right.
style of acting. In
You're
general, I mean.
probably you're probably right.
But
But his arc and like everything, his character's motivations, powerful, man. Absolutely powerful.
from the get go, dude, like first 5 minutes, I'm
Dude,
like, holy hell, like where are we going with this? Like,
insane.
dang.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
just his story, the people he comes into contact with, his motivations throughout the film, so good. um, Sort of the kooky characters that we meet, the military sort of helpers, the
Yeah,
minesweepers that he
the
meets, those
Minesweepers. Yeah,
funny guys, and not too corny or cheesy funny, but just the perfect amount. And Everything, the score, the utilization of the Godzilla theme,
yeah. I was gonna say
um, yeah, the way he
even
looks.
I was gonna say even the roar I feel wasn't overdone,
Right.
because that's something that I've noticed on some of the newer ones and even some of the old ones. Honestly, they just kept doing it and doing it, so it kind of loses like its potency, right?
Yeah.
But on this one, you felt it like when you heard
Oof.
that actual like Godzilla roar, you're like, holy crap! Like I'm actually a little bit scared, like they used it so well. um, but no, I agree. The actors, I think pretty much all of them. You know, uh, I didn't feel like I bumped into somebody I didn't believe. Right? Even the little girl, dude, she was like freaking cute as hell. Um, and even she did a good job. I thought.
Yeah, she was so cute.
Yeah,
Any movie that's got like a daughter in it, even though this one was more of a sort of like an orphaned daughter,
yeah,
but any movie with a daughter in it. Now that I have my own, I am like just a mess.
yeah,
I am powerless to what the film does emotionally. But this one was great. So many great action sequences.
yes,
Honestly,
that too.
truly, really good. Even the blast whenever Godzilla does
Oh my
his
god,
what do they call it, a heat ray or
they
something
call it
like
heat
that?
ray. Yeah,
His heat ray, just the blast from those heat rays, the way that it impacts the scene, and the way that people get blown back by it, and the debris and the shock waves, all of that was done like spectacularly well. Like, I really had no issues with any of the special effects in this movie. They really pulled it off,
yep.
perfectly. Really good. Ray, what you got, man?
No, I agree
Anything that
with you.
worked for you or didn't work for you?
No, everything. I mean, I really liked. I mean, the Japanese backstory where he was basically starts off. He's a kamikaze pilot. He was not supposed to come home. And he kind of cowered out and landed on that one island when we get the opening, scene where we see him on the island. And it kind of where you mentioned earlier, Jurassic Parkish, where I guess he's a baby Godzilla at that point because he's not to
So
the extent where he's at.
so I think they pulled that off from one of the movies in the 70s, maybe 60s, where they explain the origin of Godzilla, which is still pretty wonky because they're like, oh, so Godzilla used to be a dinosaur type of creature that existed in one of the islands, but then the US started, bombing them with atomic bombs, and then he mutated into Godzilla, right? Like giant, like uh atomic blast and all that stuff. But I'm like, dude, what kind of origin is that? Like, oh, he was a dinosaur and alive in this day and age, and we just kind of mutated him. I'm like, dude, that's still like one hell of a mystery. Like, you're not really answering anything. And so I enjoyed that they kind of did that in
Yeah,
this one, because they said, right, it's like we don't know what it is. Like, it's just he just comes up every now and then, and we call him Godzilla, right? Um, but I liked that sort of callback, a little bit of a
yeah,
connective tissue there, to some of the old movies. Uh, but dude, that scene, and sorry to interrupt, but that scene was way gnarlier than I thought it was gonna be. Like,
yeah,
Oh yeah.
dude tears him up like bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So my kid was with me, and I was like, "Ugh." I was like, I don't know about this one. And
I think he made a
so,
bad choice.
yeah, exactly. I was like, yikes. Maybe that's why it was PG-13.
Maybe.
Um, but dude, I legitimately felt like a little bit scared, like from like a viewing perspective, right? Like the way they played him off when it's all kind of dark and you can't really see him that well. Uh, and then he's just chomping on dudes like left and right, dude. Like, what I loved about it, he's not even eating them, dude. He's
yeah,
literally like crushing them and then just flinging them. Like he's not even doing it for hunger. Like he's mad. Like he is, he's killing. He's, like with intent to hurt. Like this isn't an animal trying to survive. This is, like evil. Like, hey, I will destroy you. Like that is my purpose right now. So I love that. When I saw him chomp down on the first one, I was like, oh, he's just gonna eat him. No, the dude just flings them out, like spits them out, right, dead. Like he's, like I said, he didn't take a single bite out of them, like really, like for feeding. Like that's not his motivation.
Just kill.
So exactly, it was just kill them. And I was like, dude, that is not where I thought this was gonna go.
Yeah, because a little bit after that's when we get to see where we see, I guess, where he's underwater, and then we see the
Hmm.
nuclear bomb explosion, I guess,
Yes,
and I guess that's where he mutates.
yes,
But yeah, that's the premise where I guess later on, and then I think my thing was about that character what made me like the character more was that you see his, of course, back then we didn't know what was PTSD was,
yeah,
and you see him living with PTSD of his regret, like his failure, and but not only that, you see him come home after the war to like a rundown shack, which maybe had what one bedroom, even if they were lucky, and a small
right,
little kitchen. And to me, this is where the story for me I really liked it was because you see them how they had to rebuild from nothing, like they had
nothing.
nothing, like
Yes,
literally, and he took in two orphans
yeah,
who he met on the street and allowed them to live with him, and they basically helped each other come back up. And that, if you really think about it in reality, if that were to ever happen to us in the US, we probably would be in that same boat where
yep,
you come together no matter who you are, you don't know who he is, who she is, you're going to help another person out and do that. And that's where I think made the movie more powerful
oh
because
yeah,
it gave such a backstory like that. But yeah, I loved
Yeah.
everything about it.
Yeah, their the dynamic of their relationship was fascinating, right?
yeah.
Because everybody around them were like, "Hey, so y'all live together and y'all kind of have a kid."
Your wife and your baby,
Sh
right? Like
Yeah,
everybody would
exactly.
think. And
And it was years. I feel like it
yeah,
was at least 2 years that
yeah, I
they
think it
were
was
in
two,
there.
maybe three, but yes,
Yeah, exactly. And everybody was like, "So, what's going on with y'all?" And they're like, "Nothing." And very intriguing because our lead, Sashuki,
yeah,
oh my god, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna be able to pronounce these names. Because he was broken and he was not in any place to be in a serious relationship or committed to anybody. He still felt like he was borderline cursed
yep,
and like nothing was ever going to go right for him.
yeah,
Yeah.
And he was ready to die. I'm toward this final act is just fantastic. He's ready to just get off this planet and give it everything, give it all away, and leave anybody who he still knows. All because he doesn't feel like he has a future anymore. You know what I mean?
right,
Like that was it. And I actually saw the twist coming at the end
yeah,
with not Akiro. What's her name? Noriko. I saw the
totally.
twist coming, but I thought that it would happen a little sooner than what we saw. So it didn't happen exactly the way it happened, but it was really cool that they did that. And really awesome and creative
Yes,
scenes with
yes,
Godzilla because you could have just shot bullets at him all movie long and that would have
yep,
been fine, but instead they were coming up with all these very intricate plots and ploys to try and kill him, and most of them don't work, but at least it's something new. You don't want to
oh yeah,
see the same things over and over again. And then, so yeah, it's really awesome that this movie really took some risks. It got creative. It
very,
gave us a lot of things that we've never seen before in a Godzilla film, let alone any
yeah,
other kaiju film. So yeah, really
yeah, dude. I
awesome. Had a
I
blast.
love the like I said, the so Godzilla came about, originally, right? Like It was
Ugh.
sort of the manifestation of the fear of the nuclear weapons, right? That were now plaguing the planet. What could happen, if they got out of hand? So Godzilla came from that embodiment, you know, in trying to give some sort of identity maybe to Japan, right? Like post-war. I mean, they didn't know what they were doing. They didn't know. They thought they deserved what happened, right? Most of them. So the original Godzilla, kind of represented some of that, and I felt a lot of that in this one, which is
Yeah.
crazy to think that freaking what is it, 80 years later or something like that, or 70 years later than the first one, and they kind of were able to bring that back. Like that's the thing that got me the most, to be honest, just the sense of defeat, but yet pride that they have,
Yeah.
and they kind of played through that, right? I mean, remember the Minesweepers when they literally sent them out to stall Godzilla, and they're like, wait, what are we doing here? And they're like, yeah, so we got sent out here, two little ships, right? Two raggedy ass, like barely able boats,
Made out of
with like
wood.
it made out of wood with one gun. It's like just above like an AR-15, mounted. And they're like, "Oh, your special force is to grab some of the old ass mines and lug it, into the water and try to get Godzilla with that."
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you got this. Uh, but the guy is like, "Well, let's just do it, right?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Well, who else is gonna do it, right?
Mm. Yeah.
Like there's nobody else. There's a reason why they sent us." And everybody's like, "Oh crap! Like, you're kind of right. Like, if we don't do this, Godzilla breezes through. That freaking destroyer doesn't get here in time, right? To stop him, and Tokyo dies, right? Like the city that gets destroyed." So they're like, "Crap! I guess we are doing this." As crazy as it sounds, who else has the ability to even buy 5 minutes, right? Like, and so I thought that was very powerful how they're all like, "Oh yeah, I guess we are doing this. Like, we have to do this, right?" And then but man, I know we keep circling back to it, but some, like, visually some of those shots are expensive, dude. Like,
Oh yeah.
I want to see a documentary on how this movie was shot. Like, I'm so curious because like that one, right? Godzilla's chasing them and all of that, and they blow up his mouth. um, and then that freaking, what is it, the Tycho, whatever it's called, the destroyer, right, arrives and goes to town on Godzilla, and then Godzilla destroys it, of course. But that whole sequence, I was like, dude, there's got to be at least like a 5 mil, being spent here, between the ship, the model, the shots, I was like, dang, dude, like, that's, I don't know, there's a lot of money like in some of these shots. Like, how did they pull it off, like, um but like I said, I absolutely love the sort of the identity that the movie has, with the human element, and specifically, right, and again, like Ray said, if you like story, right, like if you like history, even, is very intertwined, right? Like, it shows you sort of like the other side, right? We all know what the US did, during the war, and how we got, Japan to surrender and all that, but that's sort of more or less where we stop, right, in the textbooks, and we don't really get to see that much what happened to them, right? Like, how they
Yeah.
struggled for years and years and years, right? And so this, like I said, I really like this, the way they did it. They also played it very well when they're like, "Hey, nobody's coming to save us, even though the US is supposed to protect us, they got their own problems right now with the Russians, right? Basically with the Soviets. So we're on our own, right? Like, so that, again, that also, like, sort of bolsters that um identity, or that pride as a nation, is like, hey, we gotta save ourselves however way we can, with whatever means we got, and whatever ideas our own people come up with, right? It's not even the military. Like, it was just a bunch of civilians, like, got together, and they're like, hey, some of us got military contacts. They gave us like destroyers with no guns at all, which I thought was hilarious. They were slated to be like decommissioned and all that, but hey, they let us have it. But we literally have zero guns, right, on this thing. we need a plane, and they had to, scour like the country to get one. So all of that stuff, I absolutely love the way they sort of, again, they sort of came up with a story to fight Godzilla, right? But they had to fight it by their own means and just using their own pride type of thing, like
Absolutely.
that's, I don't know, I felt that was very powerful. Like I found myself caring a lot more, like I said, about the characters when they're like, hey, there's literally no military coming, right? Like, not the US, not the Japanese one, because there's none, right?
Yeah.
So it's just us, like we got to
Yeah.
get it done. So yeah, I don't know, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it.
I think the writers of this film must also be fans of American popular movies, because there were sort of a lot of very borrowed ideas,
Yeah.
and not to say that they stole them. I think they all are necessary. They're genuine in the moments. They're not like forced in any way, but I do feel like they were like some borrowed ideas. As an example, um, homeboy who brought in the tugboat reinforcements,
Yeah.
I felt like that was the what was episode 9 called? I forget what the hell it was called. Um,
Rise of
the
Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker. I
Yeah.
felt like that was the end of Rise of Skywalker when Lando shows up in the Falcon and there's all these ships. It's like,
Right.
oh, here's the tugboat and we got all these reinforcements.
Well,
We're here to save you.
not to mention Empire Strikes Back, right? Like, oh, we gotta tie him around, we gotta
Hey,
tie
there you
this whole
go.
line around him, so
I dig
knock
it.
him
I
down.
love
So
it, man. I
yeah,
love it.
hey,
Even Jaws, we
absolutely.
got the Jaws flashback with the whole mine in the mouth and shooting it
Yes.
at it.
Right?
Dude,
Yes.
so cool.
Yeah.
You know what? I think, the spikes swimming in the water has been done a lot in the
Yeah.
past, but it's never been dramatic. It's never been like this cool the way they had it done. It's like it really became more of like a Jaws type shark
Yes.
fin swimming in the water. Like you knew you were toast. And the first time
Yeah.
we see them come up, it was
Oh,
just like
gorgeous.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It was so amazing.
It
The
became foreboding,
details,
right?
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
The details to him, the texture, it all, really worked. I think the eyes never moving,
Mhm.
or not moving as much made him seem slightly less alive, because they were always just like open and like kind of static. And so I wish there would have been a little bit more animation to his pupils or his eyes or something, but I don't know. Very, very, very small
Sure.
um criticism there. As opposed to the rest of the movie, just spectacular. Loved it. Awesome.
Yeah, actually, if we're nitpicking, and I think, Ray touched upon it a little bit too, the scene where they detonate the bomb that basically created Godzilla, right? Like,
Mm,
if it that lasted like 2 seconds, dude, like that was like that, right? You're like, oh, detonation of whatever bomb, it goes off, and then you just kind of see the face of the dinosaur, I guess, or pre Godzilla, and then it just starts kind of like morphing, right? But it's real quick. So I'm like, dude, I kind of like, if you blink or you get distracted, or you turn around and you go back, you miss it, and you're like, that was the origin, right? Of like Godzilla. That's like the explanation of where he's coming from. So I kind of feel like that one would have been, if like stretched out a little bit more, or somebody actually saying, hey, we, after we detonated whatever 40 bombs, in this around these islands, that's the first time we started tracking, the creature, right? Like, so we think that we kind of created him, right?
yeah.
So but I felt that they breezed through that, and it's never really brought up again. Like, they don't say, oh, this dude wants to kill us because we almost blew him up, um so that is one that I'm like, it could have done, give me like 30 seconds, right, of a scene where he's being created, right? That's, again, sort of a nitpick. It is there, right, and it's kind of explained. And if you're a fan of Godzilla, you know exactly what happened, right? But still, a little bit more, how can I say it, exposure of that scene maybe would have been a little bit better, I think.
I agree. I agree. This is the part of the show where we give you our Geekcast rating. Ratings are on a 1 to 5 scale. 5 being, I'm trying to think of like the greatest monster movie ever. I don't know, Cloverfield. Cloverfield's on top of my list for monster
It
movies.
was pretty good.
And then one, I don't know what the worst one is, but it's probably some knockoff Monkey Kong movie or something like that. I don't know. What was that one with The Rock? Rampage. Oh,
Rampage.
Rampage wasn't that great.
Yikes.
Um, yeah, but we want to hear from you guys. Let us know what your rating is, and we'll get the ratings from everybody here. Ray, your Geekcast rating for Godzilla Minus One.
So last week I gave Hunger Games a 5. I'm gonna have to give this one a 5.5. The only reason why I say
You
I'm
can't go
going
higher than
over,
five.
hey, well, dude, this movie was on all levels.
Yeah.
Special effects, story. To me, the story is what really, really sold it, and the special effects was just the topper. You know what I mean? Um, and like I told you before, the other movie, Hunger Games, was basically the acting is what sold me. It made me hate that character. It made me like him at first, and then it made me hate him. This one was just overall in general, it the characters that made you fall in love with every single one of them, even the goofy ones, the partners that were on the boat with him. So overall was great, in every way.
Yep.
So I'm another 5. I'm gonna have to give it another 5.
No worries, no worries. Jose.
Yeah, I mean that's an easy 5 for me. I think I told you guys backstage that I think this movie has gone to my top 5 Godzilla movies, and I've seen all of them, by the way, multiple times. Uh,
Nice.
some more than others, right? I mean, I can only watch that original Godzilla versus Kong, so many times. It's a little bit rough, but I've seen them all. And yeah, dude, this one is it's amazing. It's beautiful. Um, there's a line by that little goofy looking doctor, the one that worked on the ship
Yeah.
and came up with the whole plan right at the end. Like, turns out he's sort of like a genius type. Um, there's a line in there when he's giving the briefing. They're about to do the thing, right? Like, go out to the ships and blah blah. And they're like, oh, he's like, okay, tonight, go out, go to your families, right? Spend good time with them and stuff. And one of the whatever background characters is like, oh, so you're telling us to be prepared, right? To like basically die, right? He doesn't say
Die.
to die, but he's like to be prepared. And he's like, nope. He's like, and he says, this country has treated life way too cheap.
Yeah.
We build tanks with almost no armor. We built planes with no I forget what like no ejection seats, right? We couldn't get food and ammo to our soldiers, right? Like a bunch of them just died of starvation, not even being shot, right? He's like, so no, like we are not gonna do that. Like we are gonna do this the right way. We're not gonna lose a single person.
Yeah.
Dude, that freaking gave me chills. Like
Great, great speech.
yeah, like and again from a like a goofy character, right? Like he's been kind of goofy the whole time. He dropped some knowledge here and there, and some reason, right? But dude, when he dropped that line, I was like, holy crap! Like they really went for it. Like no bars hold. I mean, when you hear that from a Japanese produced movie, right? Talking about basically themselves, right? I thought that was kind of bold, to be honest. I don't know that I've seen something like that in mainstream movies, let alone a freaking Godzilla movie, right? I mean, come on. Like, so that's when I was like, dude, this is something else. So yeah, easily a 5. Like I said, it's into the top 5 for me right now. I can't tell you that I remember every Toho movie right out there, so I can't really tell you where it lands on the top 5, but it's definitely top 5, like easily.
I gotcha. I gotcha. And I think it's a fantastic movie. I think it's great. I'm slightly under you, gentlemen. 4.5 for me on this one, but brings the overall
How dare
Geekcast
you?
rating to a 4.75, which is still one of the highest rated movies we've ever had. So, um, like I always say, not too shabby. Strongly suggest you check it out for all the things that we mentioned, plus just a great experience for everybody who's seen the film. Godzilla Minus One in theaters right now and racking in the dough. It's making good
Yep.
money right now. So yeah, go check it out.
Oh, and
I don't want to
also,
get
sorry,
go
I
ahead.
just saw before jumping onto the stream, it's been extended. So it's going to stay in theaters a little bit longer, I believe up to December 13th, if I remember the article correctly, which is awesome. Everybody out there that's listening, if you can, please go watch it in theaters, okay? It's just one of those that benefits so much from a larger screen. It is a cinematic experience, right? So I wish I would have seen it in IMAX. That's my only like kind of like regret because I don't know that I'll get time to see it again. I would love to, but for everybody out there, I do recommend this one. To It's worth the trip to the theater.
Absolutely. And I know that there's still Godzilla movies being made, and we'll probably talk about the Godzilla X Kong
X Kong,
trailer.
yes,
We'll talk about it
New
soon, but I
Empire.
feel like we're getting into that sort of Fast and Furious territory where
Oh
like
yeah,
the movies are now becoming a little bit more wacky and
yeah,
unrealistic. Even though we're talking about giant lizards and monkeys, I feel like we've already crossed into this Fast and Furious territory where like we're just getting ridiculous now. But we
I
want to
agree.
hear from you guys. What did you think about Godzilla Minus One? If you have seen it, let us know in the comments. Give us your rating. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, and then also let us know what you thought. A lot of stuff going on this weekend. If you are in the San Antonio area, we are having our third annual Ghostbusters toy drive. This is a nationwide campaign, and head on over to the Ghostbusters SATX Facebook page starting tomorrow, so you can hear about our drop off locations and where we will be making appearances this coming weekend. One of those drop off locations is the Dragon's Lair Comics and Fantasy at the Alamo Ranch location. They also sponsor Retro Ray's comic book reviews. So if you're in that area, go check them out. Please drop off an unwrapped toy. Um, every toy that we get is going to go to one or three organizations. The first one is the Big Brothers Big Sisters of San Antonio. The second one is the Child Advocates of San Antonio, and the final one is the community of Uvalde, Texas. Thanks to the public library in Uvalde for partnering again with us. We've had many events with them over the last year and a half, and they're all very special to us. So please donate some toys so we can bless these little boys and girls in this community, in this area. What else we got going on? Retro Ray's got more comics to review. We also got movies to give out, movie tickets in Austin for the migration movie that's done by Illumination Studios. If you're in the Austin area, we still have tickets available. Go to countdowncitygeeks.com to get your family four pack. Shout out to SpaceCon SA. Head on over to SpaceCon SA to get your tickets now while they're still discounted. They're still 20% off right now. Do not wait. The guest list is already spectacular, and I promise you, there's at least two or three more people that are going to be announced that you are going to definitely want to see. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe. Have I forgotten anything else? Kenobi, tell the folks at home what you're talking about this week.
Sure thing. So, in my channel, General Economics Bunker, we do a lot of toy hunts. So I went out there, trying to find that damn saber, man, the one at Ross for $60. It's kind of hard. I think I missed my window on that one. But also, if I can plug something here, we are actually having a giveaway. We reached 1,500
Please.
subscribers over on the channel, and we are doing what I think is a pretty good giveaway. We're giving away four different figures, one vintage collection, one Funko Pop, two Black Series, both of them exclusives. One of them is actually the Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars outfit. So that one was exclusive to Target, and that is basically what we saw in Ahsoka because it's the Hayden Christensen portrait with the armor. So that's the closest thing we got to that portrayal of Anakin. So yeah, I would appreciate it if you guys enter. You got 1 week to enter. By the way, we're gonna having an open mic night next Monday, and we will be drawing for the winner. The rules on how to enter is in my community tab over on General Kenobi's Bunker. So if you head over to the community tab, there's a couple of posts on how to enter. So please make sure that you check that out. Completely free. And this time we're actually extending it. We're doing it for US and Mexico. Since we are promoting it on the second channel, El Bunker del General Kenobi, we're opening it across, both free shipping, completely free to you. So please make sure that you enter. Again, you have one more week to do so. So
And then
Very
also,
cool. Very cool.
if you want more Godzilla, if you haven't had
yeah,
enough, go check out the review we did Justice League versus King Kong versus Godzilla. Issue
nice.
number 2 just came out last week. We still got 3 more issues to come out. So go check out the review that I did for Countdown to the Geekcast. Thanks to Dragon's Lair. But yeah, like I said, follow us, like, and subscribe.
Absolutely. And what else? If you're not already watching it, the Monarch Legacy of Monsters series is on Apple TV Plus right now. I believe they are 5 episodes in to the first season. Ray and I already did a review of the first 5 episodes. You can check that out on our YouTube channel. And we're also going to be dropping another review later this week for the next 3 episodes up to episode 8. And it's pretty awesome. Check it out.
Nice.
It's a great story. Um, it's more about the Monarch organization. That's why it's called Monarch and not Godzilla. But definitely check it out, especially if you're a big kaiju fan, and lots more to come. We have too many things going on, so be sure to
Yeah,
follow us so we can tell you all about it. There's more events happening this month of December. There's more panels and things that I'm going to be doing. And then January, I just had a very long phone conversation this afternoon with a friend of mine about another event that's happening nearby, and it's just wild what's all happening. So, for more information,
absolutely.
be sure to stick with us right here. More movie passes on the way, and that'll do it for this episode. My name is Ted, aka Steady. Joining me on this stream is one and only Retro Rape,
Peace, guys.
and also Jose from General Kenobi's Bunker.
Guys, make sure that you are regularly checking countdowncitygeeks.com to keep track of all the stuff that the team is doing. Okay, we're gonna kick it into high gear next year. Okay, it's gonna be kind of nuts. So definitely check out countdowncitygeeks.com. Check us out on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, of course here on YouTube. So again, you're not gonna want to miss some of the stuff that's happening. Okay, so make sure to follow us.
Shout out to friend of the show, Ross Marquand from The Walking Dead, and also Invincible. I sent him a message the other day. I was like, bro, Invincible is the shit. And he goes, dude, I'm glad you loved it. Get ready. He said there's a lot more
Oof,
brutalness and just
that's
epicness to
cool.
come. So shout out to Ross. We love Invincible season 2. It's incredible. Go check it out right now on Prime Video. We're spoiled. You know how many great content there is right now across all streaming platforms? We are so damn spoiled right now. I don't know why anybody's complaining about content being bad. It's all fantastic. Anyways, have a great night, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Retro is San Antonio's most popular 80s and 90s retro store. Band tees, stickers, records, DVDs, jewelry, novelties, electronics, collectibles. Real Retro is your #1 source back to the 80s and 90s. Come relive the best years of your life. Real Retro,